and welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. And on today's episode, we are joined by Rosie Hewlett to talk about her new book, Medea. Hello, Rosie. How's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good. You didn't have too far to travel today?
No, not too far. Just
good.
From Kent.
Yes. And it's such a lovely day as well.
I know,
when
yeah.
I popped out just before this.
We've actually been saying on the whole, I'm going to jinx it now, I'm saying
Oh,
this, but
dear.
on the whole Medea campaign so far, because we've done proof drops all over the UK,
Yes.
every day we've done a proof drop, it's been glorious sunshine. And so it's like a bit of a joke between our team saying it's like Medea magic, and today's sunshine as well, so I feel like it's
That's
Medea
cool.
magic.
That's
But I also
kind
think
of
I'm going to
great.
jinx it, and now it's going to be thunderstorms for the rest of the campaign. But
Well, I know you popped into our Newcastle store because Peter, who's our books guy there, messaged me to say, have you heard of this? Because it sounds amazing. And I was just like, I'm reading it.
oh, yes,
But
yeah, we've been to a few of the shops actually. It's been really fun.
Yes, perfect. So, this isn't obviously the first myth retelling, but I have to say it's exquisite and people have to go check out. They just have to. So, looking at the idea of Medea and the idea of being a victim and a villain, which is really quite an interesting kind of mix to the characters. So, why Medea?
I feel like it was always had to be Medea. Like she's my favourite character in the ancient world, and she always has been. I think she's just fascinating. I was lucky enough that actually my school offered classics, so I've studied it since I was very young, which I was very fortunate to do. And I just remember when we were reading Euripides' Medea, and I was just absolutely, captivated by her character, because she's so incredible. She's so powerful. She's a little bit scary, but then she's also, you can sympathise with her, and it's just. I remember reading it, and her speeches in Euripides' Medea are incredible. Like the feminist message within it, for a play of that time, written by a man, it was really just like rooted something very deep in me. And ever since then, I've just always been so fascinated by her character, and I always wanted to tell her story, to tell the whole story from that kind of the beginning right through to that ending that people may or may not know. But I wanted to do the whole arc, because in the myths we have from the ancient world, a lot of them are focused on the beginning or focused on the end, and I wanted to tie those together to sort of explain how does this woman get to this point where she does these terrible things that she's now remembered for, and how does that arc or downward spiral play out. So that's why I wrote.
I love as well that as you're reading it, that also the kind of the different other characters like Circe and stuff that kind of pop up. It's almost like, a wink to camera moment.
Yes.
Sometimes when you see these other characters and you're just like, oh yeah, of course they're there.
I think that's what's so nice about the Greek myth retellings, is that you feel like you're part of this whole world. And I think the more that readers read in this area, the more they know and the more characters they're familiar with. And I know for me, when I'm reading a book and one of my favourite characters pops up, you're like, oh, it's Atalanta.
Yes.
And it's really fun because it feels like you're part of something bigger. And I think that's really nice as well, that also as an author, that readers sort of have things in their head about characters already there, so sort of a built-in persona, I suppose, that you can also play with, but then you can invert as well a little bit. So I think it's a really, really fun area to write in personally.
Yeah, no, definitely. We were talking a bit off camera about the cover art in particular, and just kind of saying how it differs a bit from some of the, I suppose, more of the older school mythology books. Were you very that was a conscious decision to have this really kick-ass motif?
Yes, well, I think with Transworld we really wanted to, there's definitely a look for Greek myth retellings. There's definitely a style which we wanted to make sure that we were still in that realm, because we want people to see it and go, oh, it's a Greek myth retelling. But then we also wanted to slightly change it up a bit, bring in something a little bit different. I think the Irene, the cover designer, I love that she had Medea facing outwards directly at the viewer. I think that's a really powerful stance, and we've not seen that before on a cover yet. And I don't know, I just think I love it because I think it fits alongside the other covers, but then it also, I feel like it stands out really well. So I think the whole team at Transworld just smashed it, and I love it.
They do some phenomenal covers.
They really do.
This is definitely one of them. And this isn't obviously your first book, but your first book was Medusa, and that was kind of I suppose a different style in the sense that you self-published. So
yes,
what was the difference in the journeys for you for both books?
I mean, they've been really different, but both have been really positive. So I've had a lovely experience both sides, which I'm very, very grateful for, and I'm very lucky to have. With Medusa, I decided to self-publish Medusa, and that was such a rewarding experience. I mean, it was hard work. Self-publishing is because you're doing it all yourself, and also it's terrifying because when you're self-publishing, you're sort of just going off your own belief in yourself. So you think, I think this book's good enough, but you're sort of just, you get to the publication day and you're like, well, wait a sec, what if I'm actually just delusional and I can't write? So that was kind of terrifying. But the response to Medusa was amazing. I felt like the community on Instagram, Bookstagram, they were so supportive of me and Medusa, and they really lifted the book up. And because of those bloggers and people posting about it and word of mouth, that really, really helped with Medusa. So it was actually such an incredible experience for a self-published book, because I know it's really hard to sort of make waves when it's self-published because it's quite a busy market in general. And then with Medea, obviously it's the flip side of the traditional publishing, and that is just, that's just my biggest dream come true, really. I've always wanted, as much as I love self-publishing, I've always wanted to be a traditionally published author, and having the Transworld team get behind the book, they've all just been incredible, and they've just gone above and beyond to get behind it, and it's honestly just been, I just have to pinch myself because it is a dream come true.
So coming back to our main character here, so I found it so interesting how you kind of covered all the different facets of her character. So I suppose the love for her sister, so that like familiar love, but also kind of, I suppose, the fear of her father, the fear of kind of disappointment and not kind of being quite kind of fitting in as such. How important was that for you to kind of cover all those layers of Medea?
So important, and I think it's because Medea is such a complex character. Something for me was really, really wanting to show all those layers of her and all the kind of elements that make up who she is, because she's not entirely good, but she's not entirely bad, and she's somewhere in that grey area, which I think is always the most interesting to write or read about. But I think so much of what makes up any person is their relationship with people, and their relationship especially with their family. With women, I think it's the relationship with women in their lives is really important, and also your love interest and all that kind of stuff. It all plays into sort of the person that you become, and I think diving into those relationships for Medea was so important. And it was also important for me to understand her and how I wanted to tell her story and the Medea that I was telling, and that's why her relationship with her family was a really key point for me, because that's something that's not really touched on in the ancient world. It's more she wants to run away with Jason because she falls in love with him, because she gets struck by Eris's arrow of love, and then suddenly she wants to betray her family and run off with Jason. And though obviously I explore the love story, I didn't want that to be her only reason for leaving Colchis, because it just takes away her agency. So then I had to sit with the idea of, well, why does she want to leave Colchis? And then that opened the door of, well, maybe she has a bad relationship with her family, and why does she have a bad relationship with her family? And that just all opened up doors of all these different threads that made up who Medea was. And I think once I got that, her character really started to come together for me.
And it was interesting as well, just the, I suppose, the reimagining of Jason as well, not to kind of have the classic like, oh, here's the hero saving the day kind of thing. He's actually quite unlikable.
The worst. Some would say.
So you always feel like, the equivalent of taking your friend to the pub and just saying, are you sure about this?
Yeah.
So where did the idea, I suppose, of kind of throwing that trope on its head of the hero kind of saving the day, like?
Well, I mean, it comes, I suppose, in the ancient text it was the same. It was Medea was the hero. It was just then Jason took all the glory and she became the bad guy. Yeah. So it was really just kind of taking what was already there and really shining a light on it and being like, he is the bad guy, Medea's the good guy. Well, good in quotation marks, I suppose. But I think it's interesting that in the ancient world it was recognised that Medea did all the work, and that Jason, I mean, in the Argonautica, Apollonius uses a word for Jason, and the Greek word translates basically to resourceless and at a loss, and he uses it multiple times to basically be like, Jason is a bit useless. it's Medea who comes along and sorts all his stuff out for him. But then through the reception, I think Medea's faded to the background, and then Jason's come forward as the hero. And I think things that have really built on that is the movie Jason the Argonauts.
Mm-hmm.
In that film, Jason is all the dashing hero, and Medea is just the damsel in distress who has absolutely no agency. And I think that's why a lot of people today remember Jason, but they don't remember Medea at all. So it's there's another reason why I wrote it, to really show who did all the work and who took all the glory.
Because this, we did an interview last year with Constanza for Clytemnestra, which was another phenomenal book.
Incredible.
And looking at the idea of, the idea of feminine rage and reclaiming these kind of characters from mythology that, like you said, have or almost just been, they're just had stood in the background, like cheering things on and not actually moving everything forward. So are there any other kind of female characters from mythology that you would like to see brought more to the fore?
I mean, there's so many incredible women in mythology, which is also interesting because it was obviously the times that those stories were being told was a very patriarchal time. It was stories written by men, told by men, performed by men, for men, but still there's these incredible women that come to the forefront of it, like Medea and like Clytemnestra. So it's really, I find that so fascinating. And I think what's amazing at the moment is there is such a boom of retelling. So all of these stories that I've known and loved, they are all being retold at the moment, which is incredible. And again, it's really fun to see different characters popping up in different places. I'm personally very excited for Jennifer Saint's Hera that's coming out soon. I think something that people haven't fully touched on yet is the gods and exploring that. I think there's been a lot of exploring the mortals or semi-mortal characters, but then I think stepping into that realm of the gods and Olympus and all of that, it's like a whole other realm. So I think that's something that's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that, because I think when you step into the gods, there's just a whole new ballpark to play with. So
oh god, yes, especially even, kind of, I suppose, loosely connected, but even the success of games like Hades and stuff, which have again kind of brought a lot of the kind of female gods a bit more kind of into the story and what part they have to play. It's great. It's just great to see that everyone's kind of jumping on board and wanting to learn more.
Exactly, that's what we love to see.
Which is good. So what's your kind of research process like? Do you start kind of with original text and work out from there, or?
Yes, well, I mean, I'm lucky that I have that foundation knowledge because I studied classics at school and then I went on and studied at university, so I do have that foundation knowledge, which I'm really grateful that I can build from. But when I sat down to write Medea, my first thing was reading the ancient texts, so Euripides, Medea, the Argonautica, Seneca's Medea, Ovid, those were the main ones that I was pulling from, and it was really sitting down and seeing her portrayal in these different places and deciding what I wanted to pick and choose and take, because the thing with myth is often they contradict each other, they don't all align perfectly, there's some details in one that just completely don't make sense in another, some of the timelines are completely out of whack, so it's really just deciding what elements that I wanted to draw to build my Medea. And I think that's the thing as well with retellings is being able to know that this is my version of the story and not feeling like I have to be beholden to those versions, though obviously I bring all of the original text into it. It's also bringing my own twist and looking at it through my own lens as well. So this is like my version of Medea. I think that, I also sort of just start writing immediately. I think when I'm taken with an idea, I just have to sit down and write. And this book just came out of me so fast. I just couldn't write fast enough. It was like Medea's voice was just in my head, and I just had to sit down and write it. So yeah, it was a really fun experience.
Was there anything during your research process, was there anything that you kind of picked up that you had never kind of heard of before, or it sounds so incredulous that you're just like, how? And like,
I think there's a lot in Medea's myth that is just kind of incredible, and I think you forget, I think I forgot as well, but when I was diving back into it, you realise how much she does. And I think as a character she's so interesting because in the ancient world, often what you find is when characters do something questionable or maybe go a little bit wayward, they're usually punished or bad things happen to them. But Medea just keeps doing whatever she wants to do, and she any obstacle she's like, right, I'm going to get rid of that, I'm going to get rid of that, and she's so powerful, which is so fascinating. And I think just going back and rereading all of the ancient texts of her and seeing that is just, she's such an incredible character, and I think it's such a shame that she's sort of been a little bit lost, which is why I'm so glad to be able to retell her story and to bring all those incredible elements of her story to the forefront as well.
Plus, we have to obviously touch on your writing style is just stunning. There are some lines that you just read and you just kind of, you stop, and that's quite an art to do, because obviously everyone's rushing around, you're coming to and from work and wherever, and just every so often if a book makes you stop,
Thank you.
It's stunning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for writing it. So what are you working on next?
I'm working on book 3, which hasn't yet been announced, but I'm hopefully going to announce it soon. It's very much in the same vein. I actually just finished my first draft yesterday, which is such a good moment, because the first drafts are always, especially when you go from a finished final product to then go back to the trenches of a first draft, and you're like, why is nothing working? Why is it all written so rubbish? So it's I'm very excited that I've got the first draft down, and now it's just trying to make it better. But yeah, I'm excited I should announce it hopefully soon. But yeah.
I think it almost seems to be easier in a way, like you were saying about having to sit down and write it, because you know the voice is present in your head. A couple of author friends of mine who are currently working on new projects, sometimes they've started writing a thing, especially with lockdown, started writing something back in 2020, 2021, and then how it's kind of changed over time. It almost makes it more difficult to write, and that you have to just like write.
I know, and I struggle as well with something I used to struggle a lot with is focusing on one idea and sticking to it, which I think a lot of authors, you write something and then you're like, oh, this idea over here is really exciting, maybe I'll write that one instead, and then you put something down and then you forget to pick it up, and then you half start something else. And so I think something I've really learned is just the discipline of, no, I'm going to write this book, and this is the book I'm going to write, I'm not going to write anything else until I finish it. So I've been trying to really stick to that, which is tricky, but also it's rewarding when you get to the end of that first draft. And then once you get to the end of the first draft, that's when it all really falls together, and you can actually start making it into something that resembles a book, which is always nice.
And to finish off our interview today, so I always like to see what the authors are currently reading themselves, so for fun or work, what you're watching, and if you game, what are you playing?
So I'm currently reading Laura Shepperson's The Heroines, which is really good. I've actually read it before, but I've been rereading. I've got a few events coming up with authors, so I'm rereading all the books just in prep for that, which is very exciting. So that's a really great book. I would recommend it. And I'm currently, what am I watching? I just started Shogun on Disney Plus.
I need to. That looks so.
Yeah, I literally just watched the first episode, but it's really good, and I'm very excited for that. And what am I playing? I'm still in my hyperfixation stage of Baldur's Gate 3, which has had me in its clutches since Christmas. I'm at the end of my second run through now, so
oh wow, okay.
a little bit obsessed, but it's I love that game.
Did you romance the same character both times?
I told myself I wasn't gonna romance Astarion in the second run through, and I somehow ended up romancing Astarion in the second run through. I can't help myself.
It's too funny. It's too funny. I think over the last year, I would say probably 90% of the people we've had on the channel have said, "Well, just get through."
Yes, I love that.
So yeah, it's definitely up there.
Yeah,
so.
It's a great game. Addictive.
As all good games are. I think I'm trying to currently, obviously, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has just come out, and it's I have a week off at the end of the month before we go into Comic Con season.
Oh, nice.
So
it's gonna be a heavy gaming session.
Yeah, that. I'll look. After a week off, I'll probably look more tired than before. Like,
twitchy eyes.
Just like, But yeah, it's yeah. There's something about, especially the kind of the rich kind of lore that you get in games.
Yeah, I love
like,
that.
As exquisite as Sin Down.
They're just the storylines in games now are so good and they're so detailed, and just exploring that lore is just, I love it so much. So yeah,
it's so good. But thank you, Rosie, for joining us today. And obviously, we've got a ton of books to sign from the wall. So if anyone wants to grab a signed copy, they'll be available in all branches of Forbidden Planet and on our website. So check out and pre-order with the links attached. But we will see you next time. Bye.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.